Let's take a look at a first case, a digital insurance case. A digital insurance case is a case where there are two clear dimensions. The first dimension is technology. What role does technology play in a digital insurance play? What role does product play in a digital insurance play? From a technology perspective, technology solves two specific problems in the digital insurance space. The first is reach. It makes it easier for me to find and convert customers. The second is execution. It makes it possible for me to offer best-in-class execution for my customers. From a product perspective, this is a regulated space. It's a boring regulated space that comes with many constraints and restrictions. The ultimate product is financial security. When I combine these two areas together, the best parts of the technology part and the best part of the product part, I may have something which is new and different. If you're playing the pricing game, we also have to dig a little deeper. On the digital insurance side, which product are we focusing on? Are we focusing on motor or automobile insurance or bikes? Are we focusing on personal accident or health, life or group, savings or pensions? If we assume that our primary interest is this market, motors and bike, our next question is who and what does our customer segment look like? Looking at bike insurance, two-wheeler or motorcycle insurance, teens are not the right market for me in Pakistan. Neither are students. The profile of a typical bike rider suggests that my primary market is somewhere around here, here, and maybe here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the 4 pieces of the board that I want to play with. If I think in terms of premium payments, what are my choices? How much would a two-wheeler, motorcycle, or bike insurance cost on an annual basis? And if I break that down on a daily basis, it's not going to be 1 rupee or $1 a day. It's closer to going to be 10 rupees per day, or maybe even 1K per month. It's not going to be 10K per month. From a payment perspective, I will most likely go with one of the mobile payment options available to me. This may not necessarily work. This may not necessarily work. What are the decisions I've made? I've said from a product perspective, I only want to focus on two-wheelers. So this is the product that I want to work on. These products I'm not interested in. The segment I'm focused on is customers in the 30 to 40 age group who live in large urban centers. I have customers who are happy to pay a price tag of roughly about 5,000 rupees per year for their two-wheeler insurance. These customers are also happy to pay 10 rupees per day or something under about 1K or 1,000 rupees per month, and are happy to transfer the money to me through mobile payment, telco payment, or mobile banking application platforms. What's my objective? My objective is market share. I want to capture market share while minimizing risk, maximizing return, and reducing the amount of capital I have to deploy to make this model work. What are my choices? My choices are two-wheeler insurance, under 30 segment, maybe a billing mode as a percentage of premium where the premium lies between 3 to 10,000 rupees. What drives these choices on my behalf is my willingness to answer the questions with respect to how much market share I want, how much risk I want to take on my balance sheet, how much return I want to generate, and how much capital am I willing to allocate to make this model work. What data do we have about these products? So product A is a comprehensive insurance policy for a two-wheeler or for a bike. This comprehensive insurance policy commits to paying a claim of between 40,000 to 150,000 PKR. It's based on the assessment that about 2 million bikes a year are sold in Pakistan, and KLI, which stands for Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, which is the 3 large urban centers, plus a couple of tier 2 and a number of tier 3 cities. So across these 50 cities, my expectation is that about 2 million bikes are sold between 40 to 150,000 rupees, and the cost structure for these bikes is about 2% claims and 1% reserves, and another 5% in terms of commissions that I pay on distribution. That pricing model suggests that the average premium that we're going to look at based on an insured value of 100,000 rupees is going to be about 3,000 rupees before commissions and 3,158 rupees after commission. How did we get to this 3,158? 2% is a claim rate, which on this value of 100,000 leads to an expected claims of about 2,000. Another percent is put aside for reserves in terms of the fact that maybe our claim distribution or claim estimation is not exactly accurate, or all the claims don't come in time or are not reported in time. So that adds an additional reserve of about 1,000 rupees, which gives us a total premium value before commissions of about 3,000. We load this premium with a commission rate of about 5% to get a break-even rate of 3,158. This is a rate at which all our costs are covered, but we're not making any profit or losses. Take a second product, a personal accident product. This product promises to provide a cover of between 500,000 to 1 million rupees if you face or suffer a personal accident on your bike. Same basis, 2 million bikes a year, same segment, but the claim cost is a lot lower and the distribution cost is the same. What does that lead from a pricing perspective? The same math. Rather than looking at an insured value of 100,000, we're now looking at an insured value, a benefit payment of about 1 million rupees. 0.2% of that million gives us an expected claim cost of about 1,000. Reserves at the same rate give us an additional reserve component of about 1,000. So our total premium is about 3,000. Adding commission at 5% gives us a break-even rate of about 3,158. Both of these values are break-even rates. Now you can add expenses, additional expenses, because you would have expenses beyond commissions, and profitably load to get a sense of where does your math take you. So go back to the board. The 4 components that we've spoken about. What is the goal? Our goal is market share. For goal is market share, we know for a fact that our pricing is not going to be a price setting pricing, it's going to be a price taking pricing, and the model that we're going to use is going to be a competitive model. Is this an innovative product? No, it's a mainstream product. Everybody buys auto insurance, even for two-wheelers. Who are we focusing on? Are we focusing on adapters, or are we focusing on mainstream customers? We are likely to focus on mainstream customers, maybe an inkling and sprinkling of innovators and adapters. Why? Because not all customers would be interested in buying a product using their phone. Our focus, remember, digital insurance platform. We're not using the traditional conventional physical channel distribution. We're actually using a mobile channel for this one. From a product perspective, is this a young product? No, it's a mature product. It's a product that has existed in that market for a very long time. What's the outcome that we're focused on? We want the customer to try a product. Our target outcome is trial. We want the customer to try a product. How do we achieve that? We achieve that by making sure our product is priced very, very competitively and ties in with the life arc of the customer. Our assessment is, given where he is from a life arc perspective, it would also make sense for him to buy the personal accident and the health insurance product. So our objective is to use the trial to get him into our network, hook him essentially with a product which is a loss leader, and then once we build that relationship, convert him in buying our products on the personal accident and on the health insurance side. So from a pricing perspective, here's a simple sheet that compares the benchmark base case premiums and the profitability and expense loading for 4 products. For life, based on the pricing model, base case premium is about 3,000. Accident, personal accident, base case premium is about 2,250. Hospitalization, base case premium about 3,000. And auto insurance, which is the two-wheeler motorcycle insurance, at about 6,000. Now you can create different variations of these products, which is the product design side. But from a pricing perspective, you have a question. Question is, do you want to charge 6,000 or do you want to charge 3,000? How does this math play out? You've opted to go with the 6,667 rupee premium. Also assume that based on this, the market size that you can target and access is about 5 million customers. And of those 5 million, you'll convert about 2% of these customers, which would give you a net premium of about 1.3 billion rupees. That's your best case scenario. But what if you change the pricing to a point where it's ultra competitive and set at 3,947? So it's about 30% cheaper. 2 things happen. First, you've increased the target market size from 5 million to about 12 million. More importantly, your penetrations also jumped from about 2% to 4%, which then allows you to earn about 3.7 billion rupees in premiums for the same product with a different pricing strategy. So this was baseline conversion using 6667 as a premium. That gave you 2% conversion and a 5 million market and a total conversion of about 1.3 billion. A comparative conversion that used a much more competitive premium increased the elasticity of your reach, increased the elasticity of your conversion, and also increased the net premium that you've achieved. This is pricing at work. This is the impact of an effective pricing strategy, which is aware of the context and the playbook that we use to play the pricing game. It answers the same question we posed right at the start, the question posed by Roger Martin. Pricing essentially allows you to determine where do you want to play and when to play. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a price taker or a price setter? At a high level, from a pricing modeling perspective, there are essentially three models. The first model is cost plus. The objective of the cost plus model is to cover a cost, is to break even. So when we priced our product at 3158, that was break even pricing. 3158 would make no profit or no loss for us. If we wanted to add a loading for additional profitability, the premium would most likely change from 3158 to something closer to maybe 4,000 rupees. Break-even pricing or cost plus pricing is also known as marginal pricing. The model that we use for it is 3 to 5x salaries in the services business. In the consulting world, we build a pyramid that's based on lower level talent managed by increasingly high level talent to a point where the top of the pyramid is where the partners and the MDs sit. In this model, the bigger the base, the bigger the foundation, the higher the return and profitability for the business. But this is essentially linked to 3x salary. So for example, if my base is $100,000 and I have 10 such employees that essentially cost me about $1 million a year, then to turn this into a profitable enterprise, I need to set or determine a base rate where I can charge about $3 million a year for services rendered by this team. If I can charge that amount, then from a profitability perspective, I'd be able to pay salaries, pay bonuses to my team when projects and contracts and billing is completed, as well as take a reasonable distribution home for myself. Cost plus model focuses on making sure that all costs are recovered. Here, when you think in terms of 3x, the three X's are, the first X is salaries, so we use 1x. The second X is overheads. The third X is profits and contingencies. That's where the 3x model comes from. The 3x model can also be a 5x model where 1x is salaries or 1.5x is salaries and bonuses, 1.5x is overheads, and 1.5x is profits and overheads and contingencies. A second model is an extension of the cost plus model, but here we look at the cost per user. So if I run a site or a blog site or information content site, what is my cost per user? What is my cost per seat? What is my cost per client? If I have a SaaS model, a sell solution on a usage basis, I can do my pricing in such a fashion that I have a benchmark sense of how many seats per average client am I going to sell. I can also do a model which is much more common on the payment side, which is a cost per transaction model. Both of these models, the cost plus model and the cost per user per seat per client model, cost per transaction model, are models their primary focus is on recovering the total cost base and some level of profit based on some target usage or target utilization of the platform. The next model, model number 2 on our side, is the value model. Here, the focus is not on cost recovery. Here, the focus is on what is the product worth to our customers. Whatever that worth is, we can charge up to 30%. It doesn't matter what it costs us. It might just cost us 1% of what it is worth to a customer, but we can charge up to 30% and customers will willingly pay this amount. Challenge here though is there are certain preconditions. You can't build or use the value model if your underlying product does not create value. So you must understand what product features for this specific customer segment have the highest perceived value. And that's the point, wherever that point is on this cube on this grid where you place your pricing choices. From the staging perspective that we've presented earlier, in the pricing game, if you're looking for trial and conversion for a value product, the value product is most likely going to be an innovative bleeding edge platform. It's not going to be a generic mainstream product. You're going to focus on innovators and early adapters. You're going to focus on launch and conversion. But now in this specific context, even though you're looking at value, it's possible that your pricing strategy at launch stage may be very different from the pricing strategy at conversion, from the pricing strategy at growth, from the pricing strategy at harvesting. Take our early example of a AAA game. In here, once again, there is a bifurcation. There is a part that's played by technology and there's a part that's played by product. What is the underlying product? The underlying product is entertainment. It's what we call the third space. The third space, the space where we all go to be who we want to be. Depending on your goals, your product, the segment you're targeting, and the stage of where you are, your pricing strategy will change and evolve over a period of time. The third and final model on the pricing side is a competitive approach. A competitive approach is driven by a different set of dimensions. Remember the first piece, when we looked at value, we looked at product features, customer segment, and perceived value. In a competitive product, we're looking at the competitive landscape, who else is there, the spectrum of service, where is it that we're competing, and our positioning. How do customers perceive our product? Specifically, not just with respect to the features we offer, but with respect to what else is available in the market. The end result is the same question. The first question, the only question that we want to answer in the pricing game. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a price taker? Do you want to be a price setter? The answer, depending on the stage of the game, while you may start off as a price taker because you're doing a competitive launch in a competitive space, your ultimate objective, your ultimate goal is to evolve, is to grow, is to get to a point where you can be a price setter. What does it take to be a price setter? How do you get to be a price setter? To become a price setter requires you to take a step back and think holistically about how does the pricing model work? How does the pricing game work? The pricing game essentially is two separate games. The first game is trying to figure out this part. How do customer segments, product features, and value come together? And how do they map with respect to product life cycle? Ultimately, the game starts with segment selection and where we are with respect to the customer are, the role our product plays in the life of that customer, the spectrum of service at which we compete, practice of our craft, and the life cycle, the stage of the product with respect to itself and to other products in that specific market. We're now down to the final part of our discussion. Application of the concepts that we've presented so far. So let's take a look at our next example, a AAA game. How are AAA games put together? More importantly, how do we dissect them between technology and product? So a AAA rated game uses technology to create reach and address the distribution challenge, but more importantly, create an experience that leads to both trial and franchise building over a period of time. Take Blizzard as an example. Studio that started in 1992 with a few thousand customers, in 2025 commands the following of over 100 million customers globally. How did that happen? What led to such a loyal following? The short answer is technology, usage of technology to create an experience that drove trials and built a franchise year on year and year till they got from a few thousand customers in 1992 to 100 million customers 32 years later. What was the underlying product? Entertainment. Or as my friend Habibullah Khan puts it, the third space. We all work and operate in three different spaces. First space and second space are the spaces that we live in, at work, at school, or at home. The third space is a space where we go to be ourselves. AAA rated game provides an opportunity for anyone, anywhere in the world to escape to their third space and be who they want to be who can they never be in their first or second space. To a large extent, that's a function of the experience, how engaging, how engrossing, how deep the underlying experience is that makes it possible for somebody to not just see or believe or act, but actually feel that they are a troll hunter or a human army or anything else that their mind desire or fantasizes them to be. That's the underlying product. How do you put value on the third space? How do you quantify it? And if you are able to quantify it, how does that lead to a per user per seat pricing? We're now talking about pricing power. Where does pricing power come from? It comes from the ability to play the game that we've spoken about so many times in our earlier conversation. AAA rated game roughly is priced between $40 to $60. Compare this with a free hyper casual game on a mobile platform. What's the difference between the two? A AAA rated game for $60 creates a very different experience compared to a free ad supported game on your mobile phone. One is called AAA given the amount of time, effort and resources that go into the creation and manufacturing of that experience. The other is called an app store optimization model where the primary objective is to hook a user for a couple of days. The underlying publisher can generate a few dollars in ad supported revenue from that experience. The intent of the two games is very different. Given that difference, the underlying experience created by the two games is also different. One focuses on complete and total immersion. The other focuses on temporary, partial, limited entertainment. The AAA experience is so involved that you don't mind paying $60. The ASO hyper casual game experience is so casual that you'll only spend a couple of minutes to maybe a few days at max playing the game on and off, generating a few dollars in ad supported revenues for the game publisher. What do you think is the underlying pricing model that a AAA game follows? Is it cost plus? Is it value? Or is it competitive pricing? When Blizzard publishes Warcraft, Starcraft or Diablo, what do you think is the underlying engine that they use for pricing their product? Next question for a quick assessment. Product D, a payment processing engine in the payment space. Where do you think this fits? Hair on fire, hard fact, or future vision? Do you think a standard payment solution that allows you to process credit card payments on your online store part of the future vision? I don't think so. There's nothing visionary about taking a credit card number, paying 2.5% MDR and processing a payment. Is it hard fact? It is what it is. So you have to pay that 2.5% MDR and you will get paid in the next 7 to 10 days. Maybe. Is it hair on fire? Are we dying for a new payment solution? I don't think so. So for the payment solution, the most reasonable positioning is it is what it is. It's a given, right? The payment processing, the online payment processing industry, is that growing at a 10, 15, 20, 30% month on month or year on year rate? Not likely. So it's possible that it is stagnant. And if it is stagnant, then we know for a fact that it is what it is and stagnant. How do you break into this market with a new product? You have to overcome the habit of using credit and debit cards, which is what players like Bitrefill are doing. If you had your heart set on the payment space and if you use the same framework that we presented earlier, what is a hair on fire problem? What is something that is of urgent need in the market? Perhaps, maybe that product is instant transfer. I want to transfer money from one end of the planet to the next and I want to do it as quickly as possible. Ideally, I'd also like it to be 10x cheaper. Today, the cost of transferring funds ranges from a few dollars to $10 to $50 to 3 to 5% to 5 to 10% of the value being transferred. Can I make that 10x cheaper, 10 times cheaper? From a future vision perspective, is there a world, is there a scenario, is there a product where the transfer is as simple as thinking and doing? Think and it's done. We've solved this for domestic remittances, but can we do the same for international cross-border transfers? This does not sound like a visionary product till you start thinking about the regulatory hurdles, the multiple tracking requirements, the sender-receiver restrictions that exist on a number of hard currencies across the world. Here the challenge is not one of technology, but of regulatory compliance. Assuming you were able to find such a solution, how would you price it? Would it be cost plus? Would it be value? Or would it be competitive? Given the fact that the payment space is heavily regulated and fairly crowded, do you really think that you'll be able to charge for value? Or would it be competitive pricing driven and set by the market? Think of a product where you have the capacity to set prices, where you define how much a customer would pay to use that product or enjoy that experience. If you want to be a price setter, if that's the end goal or the destination that you have in mind for your product pricing models, which one of these categories do you want to compete in? Hair on fire, which is crowded, where you'll never get a chance to be a price setter but always be a price taker. Hard fact, where you have to come up with a revolutionary approach that you can use to break long set habits. Or future vision. A is unlikely, B is possible maybe, C is also a possible maybe. It depends on what the underlying product is and what the context around that specific product is. There is a wide spectrum of choices that lies between being a price taker and being a price setter. If you take a step back and think about what does it take to be a price setter, to be a price setter requires you to bridge four worlds. You have to have a fairly deep understanding of how pricing models work and how they interact with the product life cycle. You have to understand which customer segment would allow you to be a price setter. You have to understand how the product life cycle and the multiple stages that we've spoken about in our conversation today fit into this. And you have to understand where you are in the launch cycle and what is it that you really want to achieve from your pricing strategy and model. The ultimate key to becoming a price setter is to understand how your product helps customers work through their dreams, aspiration arcs. We've touched upon this theme multiple times in our course on product development when we speak about go-to-market strategy, customer personas, segment selections, or the product lifecycle. As long as you've done a good job on answering this specific question on how does your product help customers work through their dreams aspiration arc, there's a reasonable chance that you'll also be able to figure out the price setting puzzle. Are there examples of price setting behavior? GPU compute. Take the latest releases of any GPU card, whether offered by NVIDIA or AMD. The Grace Hopper architecture, the most recent addition to the NVIDIA line on the GPU compute side, offers exaflop capacity for a few $100,000 and change. Hoka shoes, generally in short supply depending on the model you're looking for, focus on extreme comfort. They fall in a category of shoes called super shoes that help runners go where no runner has gone before. Medium, the site that I use for writing on a regular basis, has made the writing experience so enjoyable and painless that I'd rather write on Medium first than on my own blog. Canva, the site for design and designers, allows me to put together design with zero background in design. Socrative, the tool that I use as an academic, as an educationist, as a tester, as an examination administrator, makes it easy for me to create quizzes, midterm assessments, and exams and deploy them over a large group of students painlessly. And then also check them on an automated basis and distribute the results in an equally painless fashion. Even LinkedIn originally started off as a platform for connecting people who are looking for jobs and talent, has become one of the most strongest platforms for generating outreach on a global basis. Each of these products solve a specific problem and challenge in my life because they were able to successfully answer a specific question that I was looking for. They are a part of my daily life. Each of these products is a product that I use on a daily basis. If you want to be a price setter, you have to understand something far more fundamental in the product world. You can't be a price setter without producing magic. How do you produce magic? You produce magic by producing something of incredible value, incredible perceived value on behalf of your customers by putting in the same amount of incredible effort. Magic allows you to get to product market fit. But how do you get to product market fit? You get to product market fit by playing the correct pricing game. Depends on where you place yourself on the pricing spectrum between a price taker and a price setter. The key part to remember is to stay on the right side of this image, is to stay on the value, effort, magic, and PMF side, and to not drift on the left side where frauds and lemons exist. As long as you remember this part of the playbook, of the instruction guide, you will never sleep hungry again. And that is all I had to say on the pricing side. My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed. I teach product development at IBA Karachi. Thank you so much for your time and patience.